You are the state. Whatever I had open. Whatever is on there. This one. I think it's this one. You're right. Try that. Yep. Okay, I did. It's time to get started.
Cancelled my appointment to state.
Thank you. Okay, have a seat. There's one up here, there's two up here. You want? Oh, here's my class host and usher. How's everybody? Good. Y'all ready to get started?
Yeah.
Okay, who in here knows what ChartMasters is? Oh my gosh, that's 3 times as many people as the last time I taught this class. That's great.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. What we're gonna cover today is where to find ChartMasters. The 3 types, actually there's 4 types of reports. We're gonna cover 3 of them today. And then some tips and tricks that I've been using and how we're using them. And then I want to hear from you, your ideas, how you guys are going to use them. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. This is an interactive class. If you have your iPad with you or your computer, please feel free to use it. And if not, does everyone in here have a handout? Please raise your hand if you do not have a handout.
It's a different one.
It's a different handout from my last class. Okay, Brad's coming around. Please keep your hand up and he will get the handouts. And for our folks on Zoom, hi Amy, hi Lanny, hi Lori. We are the handouts I can email you. Hi. And hi Nick. The handouts I can email you, but it's basically just screenshots of how to find the ChartMasters. And then a couple of copies of the ChartMasters themselves. That would be a good idea, Amy, if I had it as saved as a PDF on this computer. Thank you. Or she can log on and put it in there. Okay, so to find ChartMasters, actually, let me back up. Let me start with what is ChartMasters? ChartMasters is a resource that you all have. And by the way, we are the only office in the entire state that has access to ChartMasters. And they are, we are the only office in the entire state that has access to ChartMasters. Yes. And we are going, it's data that is pulled directly from our MLS that you can use in your listing presentations, buyer presentations, and conversations with your clients every single day. So what we're going to do is find how to access this information. And so you're going to go to mykw.kw.com. Everybody can do that now if you would like to. And go ahead and log in to mykw.kw.com. I think, Ashley, you might be in the camera. Thank you. Okay. So is everybody logged into mykw.kw.com? Okay, excellent. From here, you're going to go to My Market Center Intranet, which is this button right here. From My Market Center Intranet, you're going to click Market Center, which is up here in this red box. From Market Center, you're going to click Documents. Everybody following? And then from Documents, you're going to scroll down until you see ChartMasters Reports. Everybody got it? Okay, so in this folder, you're going to see we started labeling them the month 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, obviously, so it's easier to find the month. So the quarterly reports are Q4, 2, 3, and then Q1 is not out yet, of course, for 2023. We started using ChartMasters in, I guess, the summer of 2022. So we don't have Q1 of 2022 out. Q1 of 2023 will of course come after Q1 of 2023. And in 2023 ChartMasters, you'll see there's a separate folder for it. So if you click on 2023, you're going to see that there's one in there right now for January. Make sense? So go ahead and click on January, and you can see that there's 6 reports inside the January folder. And the reports are a county report.
I'm lost in 2023.
So, yep, got it, Brad.
This one.
Does anybody need me to slow down? Got it? Okay, so there's 3 types of reports. There's a county report, a city report, and an ISD report or school report that are in this folder. And they're saved by PDF and they're saved by PowerPoint. For your convenience, you can choose whichever one that you want to use. I personally like the PDFs. If you like PowerPoint, by all means, go for it. And then down here at the bottom, the 4th type of report are the quarterly reports. And there's a class next week that Jeremy Trask, who's the owner of ChartMasters, will be teaching. It is on February 16th after the ALC meeting at 1 o'clock. Highly recommend that you come to that meeting. He started ChartMasters. Sorry, didn't start ChartMasters. He bought ChartMasters and has taken it to the new level. Started in the Southeast in Georgia. And he's going to be teaching the quarterly reports specifically. So highly recommend that you come that day. We're not going to be covering quarterly reports today. So we are going to be covering the school, city, and county reports. And I'm going to start with so if you want to, this is the PDF version, this is the PowerPoint version, but I'm going to start with the city's PDF version. So I'm just going to click on it and it's going to download the whole city PDF version right here. You have any questions? You good?
Is Colleton County or?
This is a city report. So let me show you what that means.
Yeah, but I mean for cities where?
These cities. Cities in most of our MLS in this area. Since we're the only office in the state to have it, he started with cities that are nearby us. And more cities will be coming soon as he expands to other offices, but this is your unique value proposition to say, I'm literally the only agent you're going to talk to that has access to this data right now.
Why are we going?
Because my coach told me about this and then I brought it to the finance committee and we got it. Sorry,
Where are they getting this from?
ChartMasters. Okay, so this is basically think of this as your home screen. And you can click on each different city and you can see like Allen is coupled with Fairview and Lucas. Carrollton is coupled with Coppell. There's just not enough data in Carrollton alone. So they coupled it with Coppell, or Coppell wasn't enough to stand on its own. So they coupled it with Carrollton. Same with Van Alstyne. They've added Blue Ridge and Howe, etc. Now, far north Dallas is these zip codes, and downtown Dallas, this is new. Downtown Dallas areas, obviously some of these zip codes are not like downtown. This is changing. Downtown Dallas will get better, I promise. This is new for January. So if you go back and look at December, November, October, that downtown Dallas is not there. It will be going forward. And so you can see what zip codes are included in that. Any questions so far? Okay, so let's go ahead and click on Plano. So Plano includes Parker and Murphy. If you click on it, it takes you directly to that page. And let me see if I can. That easier for everybody to see. Okay, so the first page is broken down by price range. So the price range is under 250, 250 to 3 to 350, et cetera. You get the idea here. And then it's 2 million plus on the bottom. And Jeremy has been so great with ChartMasters as to giving us a little key at the bottom. So if you ever don't know what something means, the little key is down here at the bottom. So let's go through what each category means, which column. So price range is here, obviously. We just talked about that. New listings. This is new listings in the month. Active listings are active in the month of January. Under contracts they went under contract in the month of January. And then the pending ratio, how many that were active went under contract. And then how many closed in the month of January. And then I like looking at this column. This is the median sales price. So like, for instance, in the 350 to 400 range, the median price in that range was 375
Within the month.
within that month, correct?
The closed sales or anything previous, just anything that closed.
Closed sales in the month of January,
Oh, that's closed in the month?
in that price range in January.
Mhm.
And then you have the median price per square foot, months of supply of inventory. And then Nick, can you help describe what absorption rate means or how it's calculated? I put you on the spot.
It's in the bottom.
That's right. It says it's the number of homes sold in the month divided by the number of active listings on the market. So my understanding is that months of supply and absorption rate are the same numbers, they're just calculated differently. Is that fair?
Means the same thing, it's just.
Okay.
I mean,
So we divided
they're
by.
getting sold.
At like how fast they're selling through. Okay, I like looking at months of supply of inventory. Thank you for letting me put you on the spot. What I like looking at is months of supply of inventory. One of the ways that we describe that to other people is if nothing else came on the market starting this month, or right now, it would only take this many weeks or months to sell everything in that price range. So for instance, in the $700,000 to $800,000 range, there's 3 months of supply. So if nothing else came on the market starting today, it would only take 3 months to sell everything in that $700,000 to $800,000 range. So a balanced is 6 months of supply. Anything under that is a seller's market. Anything over that is a buyer's market. Okay, and then keep going on our columns. How many of the homes that sold above list price? How many were price reduced? How many of the ones that did not do a price reduction, what was their percent of original list price that they received? Of the ones that did a price reduction, what was their percent of original list price received? Of the ones that did not do a price reduction, what was their days on market? Of the ones that did do a price reduction, what was their days on market? And then how many expired or canceled as a percentage? Any questions on what we're looking at? Yes, Brooke.
So the ones that said no price reduction, list price, percentage of your original list price. Got that, but when you have a price reduction, is that the original list price that's prior to the price reduction?
Correct, the original list price on the MLS. Everybody understand Brooke's question? Okay, so what they're saying is, let's look at the 500 to 550 price range. So of the homes that did not do a price reduction, sellers on average received 99% of their list price, of their original list price. So if a house was, I mean, don't think do the math, but if it was listed at 500, 99% of that is what they got. Okay. Okay, if they did a price reduction, they got 93% of 500,000 if that was their original list price. That make sense? Yeah, so the homes that did a price reduction, they got 93%. Of the homes that did not do a price reduction, they got 99%. This is really powerful.
Yeah.
They don't market.
Yep, of the homes that did not do a price reduction, they spent on average 17 days on the market. Of the homes that did a price reduction, they spent 76 days on the market. And 0% expired or canceled in that price range.
So that's kind of, so we did a price reduction. And it took them 76 days. They didn't do a price reduction and it took them 7 days.
Yep, that's correct.
With according to price regulated.
That's it, correct, yes. Yes.
The logic behind that, it almost sounds like it should be opposite. So if you keep your price and you don't reduce it, you're gonna sell it quicker and get all of your money that you've listed.
Well, what it's saying is that you have to price right the first time to get the highest price. And so we're gonna, if you take this information on a listing presentation and a seller has a price that's too high in mind.
Right.
Let's say that they want to price their house at 600, but they're really, you know, that they should be between 500 and 550. You can show this data to them and say, well, you could price at 600, but you're on average going to spend 76 days on the market and you're probably going to get 93% of your list price anyway. Which would you rather do? Okay, let's keep going. We have a lot to get through. So in the next page here, is the entire Plano area as a summary. So I like looking at both of these pages. This is showing you a month over month change in basically all of the same categories. And then this column on the right is showing you year over year change. Anybody have any questions on that? And then as we get some more data, after we've had ChartMasters for a whole year, we'll get some more data for year over year changes, but we haven't had them that long. Okay. Now, here's a little tip and trick for you. If you click this little button right here, back to table of contents, takes you back to the table of contents. That's a PDF or the PowerPoint. It takes you back to this page. And of course, if you want to look at other cities, you just click through and look through this. Yes.
The price range on those, is that the closed part of the listing price, the price range? What's the closed price?
This right here. I don't know the answer to that question. I can ask Jeremy that.
That's the original, the price range is the original.
I think it's the closed, but I don't know. Good question. Okay, so now we're gonna go back to our mykw.kw.com. And we're gonna look at the, we're gonna skip down and look at the ISDs. So we're gonna skip to the ISDs. Looks pretty similar, right? Here's all your ISDs. And the reason that they've done this is because, of course, like Frisco City spans Little Elm, it spans other school districts. So this is all in here. So if you wanted to look at just Frisco ISD, click on Frisco ISD. So I'm in mykw.kw.com. And then I'm going to click on ISDs. I'm in the PDF and it takes me to that one. Let me zoom in again. So same information, it's broken out by price range. I find this to be helpful, like especially if you're on a border line. If you're in Frisco, but it goes to Little Elm schools or vice versa, this is helpful. If you want to double check yourself. Okay, Amy, did I answer all of your questions? I'm sorry, I was not monitoring the chat. Absorption rate. Okay. I'll be honest, I don't fully understand absorption rate, but the description, the definition of how ChartMasters does the definition is down here at the bottom. So months of supply definition is right here, and then absorption rate is right below it. So from what I understand, months of supply and absorption rate are calculated the same, but it gives you a different number. One's like a sell-through rate, and then one is how much supply is left.
Basically, it's correct. I mean, I would say the only thing you're trying to determine there is what market you're in.
Correct. Oh, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
And you can see that the green is a seller's market, yellow is a balanced market, and red is a buyer's market, and those automatically populate for you here. So you're looking at Frisco ISD, and it's a seller's market, or excuse me, a buyer's market in the $2 million plus price range right now. Or in January, it was.
I think the absorption rate is the amount percentage of the when it's sold compared to that, what percentage is sold.
Correct, like how quickly they're
Yes.
selling through. Yep. That's what I understand too. Okay, so here in the schools, it's the same information, all the same columns, same charts. So this is handy, I think, to have. And then you can go back to table of contents again, see all the different schools. And then I want to show you the counties because this is different. So I'm going to click on counties. You guys have a copy of this as well. Are there any more handouts?
We need one.
Need one up here. Two up here. Okay, so in the difference in the counties is that the first page you have all counties. This is all counties right here. And then this is the trend, basically a trend report from January of 2022 through January of 2023. Again, he was not tracking So we don't have this information just yet. And then, of course, this is the same information here on the left column. And then it's broken out by counties, Collin County in January, Dallas County in January. Get the idea? And I want to scroll down to the bottom. Okay, so these pages I find are very helpful on listing presentations. So I'm going to read this. It says, we look at actives and pendings and the ratio between the two to determine how hot the market is. When the percentage change for pendings is rising and actives are declining, the pending ratio or hotness factor increases. So you can see that active listings in Collin County is down month over month for January. Pendings are up. So that's a hot market. Same with pendings in Dallas County are down, and then, or excuse me, actives are down and then pendings are up. The pending ratio is up. Only not so hot market would be Fannin and Lamar County. And then again, he has the definitions down here at the bottom. This is helpful, I think. And then are we in a sellers, buyers, or balanced market? Again, he's got closed listings, absorption rate, months of supply of inventory by county. Median price by county. And then percent change year over year, month over month. I have to ask him about this one. Listings in the best condition at the best value result in the maximum price in the least amount of time. Oh, how many of the homes sold above 100% of the list price? 19.5% sold above 100% in January of 2023. This would be interesting to go back to like July or like August of 2022 and see how the numbers differ. So if a seller, for instance, this is how I would use it. If a seller was like stuck in a different market, like, oh, my house is going to sell for 110% of the list price. I'd go back to maybe probably July or August of last year and pull what these numbers are and show what percentage of homes are actually selling above list price compared to what they're selling for now in the county. I think that would be interesting. Okay.
But this is all categories of price range,
This is all prices, all everything in the
Everything.
county.
all price range.
Yes. Okay, this one is, we use this on practically every listing presentation, price reductions. What percent? So in Collin County, as an example, there's been a 2% increase in closed listings, a 3% increase in pendings, and an almost 9% decrease in active listings. This tells a completely different story than what the media is saying right now. I don't know if y'all watched any of those articles, they're driving me crazy. So, price reductions. Price reductions effects on days on market. If you did no price reductions, you had a 15% increase month over month change and 175% year over year change. And if you did a price reduction at 18% month over month and 7% year over year change. Difference in days on market is 73 days. Would you rather spend 73 more days on the market compared to your competition? That's right, you decide. So this is data that you can show them. This is really handy. Anybody have any questions so far?
This works. I just want to agree with you.
Okay.
I lived at a house in Prosper that was supposed to go live next weekend, but we used ChartMasters and both of them were previous agents. So they felt like they knew what they knew. And we just went over the data. Like they went over every one of these pages and we priced it right. And we have an offer deadline today at 5. And we have 10 offers on the table. They're all above list. And I'm like, look, you're getting above list instead of having to wait for 80 days. So they're really grateful for ChartMasters. They almost want to be agents again. She literally said that. She's like, I think I'm just gonna have to be an agent again.
I think if you're interested in taking a consultative approach in your listing presentation, I think this is really a great way to do that. Would you rather do this or this? You get to decide.
Up to them.
In the chat. Go back to the hotness slide. Does it show HC to tell what is hot or not?
HC, green or red color.
So it didn't say how, not H.
I assume what it means, and I can ask Jeremy this, and we can ask him to talk about any questions that you have next week in this class specifically. But I assume that it means that if your active listings are down, your pendings are up, and the pending ratio is up, that would mean it's a hot market compared to like this one in Van and Lamar, the pending ratio is down. So that would be a not as hot market. That answers your question, Amy. Okay, let's get down to the market we talked about. Okay, this one I think is great too. This goes back to Sarah, what you were saying. Price reductions effect on days on market. More time on the market isn't the only penalty for missing the mark on pricing. These sellers also experience less negotiating power when an offer does come in, resulting in this. He updates these stats every month. So 9% less in their pocket compared to those sellers who priced correctly from the start. So in Collin County, it's a 9% difference. And I think he did the average, so 9% of all counties. So if you didn't price right the first time, you did a price reduction, on average, you got 9% lower. So if somebody's, haggling with you on your commission rate, you just show them. Would you rather price right the first time? You have 9% more in your pocket right off the bat. Really great. Okay, how many expired, canceled, and withdrawns? How many of you are watching this to call canceled and expireds? This might be good to watch it. Okay, and then here's some more about this report. Okay, so now the quarterly reports that again, he is going to talk about those. They do look different. As you can see, area comparison, luxury. So take some time and you can go through this. Also, there's interactive charts. I would highly recommend coming to this class. There's a way to plug in a price range in the interactive charts on the quarterly to see if your price for that house is going to be too high or too low in that area. So make sure to ask him about that if he doesn't cover it, but I'll make sure it's on his list. So I want to talk about how we're using these. So Brad and Larry, I know on our listing presentations, we're printing, I don't know if you guys remember the CPAR pulse reports. I used to print those every time and then they stopped doing them and I was like, what am I going to take? And then the Texas Association of Realtors put out reports and they're just not very specific and they don't have as much information. So I print the city's report or the school's report almost I do print it every single time. And I'm going through and I'm doing basically an overall view. And then I break it down into the neighborhood view when I go into my CMA. So I'm taking those, I'm talking about how much on average people are getting percent of their original list price compared to how many days on market, all the stats that we just talked about. I'm also putting it in my every buyer presentation. I don't know if you guys are watching stats, but how many houses, I don't know how many of you have hosted an open house in the last couple of weekends, but it's been kind of busy. You just mentioned how many offers you have on the table, but do you know how many houses have been sitting on the market in Collin County for over 30 days? Like over 1,200. Okay, and how many of those have done price reductions? You can tell them. That's where the real opportunity is for buyers that want a deal. So yes.
This tool is so great. I'm just wondering how long of a time are we gonna have it exclusive?
He is going to sell it to other market centers. So here's your chance. Get out there, go on listing appointments, take it to your buyers, get on social media, talk to people about this. You can send them the full reports. I would recommend that you don't put the full report on social media. Just pull out pieces of it and talk about it on your social. Because people will not, even can we all agree that this is a lot of information to take in? Like even we, as we do this full time, are having a hard time like wrapping our brains around this. So take pieces out of it. I have a WFAA on an article, news story last week that just irks me. And I'm going to take that and show this side by side and talk about how it's just false information. And I don't know where they're getting this from, the article that they sourced. So I'm taking that and I'm using it. So
Maybe send it to FAWFA.
I might.
You asked how do we use it?
Yes.
Good example. It makes us look smarter, makes us look better than other agents. And we get the listing at the right price.
Yes.
And
if
we get it, but we get it at the right price, which is really.
Yes. And if they do want to price it higher than what you're recommending from your CMA, are they okay with this many more days on market and this percent of your original list price?
In the brackets is what I focus on is, okay, you want to list your house at 525. here's what happens if you list it at 475 instead. You'll sell it faster, you'll get it at this price versus. You know, I mean, the numbers, you can't argue with numbers.
Right. For instance, Sarah, where's your listing? It is in Prosper. So I'm gonna go to,
And I say this to brag on ChartMasters, not myself by any stretch. They interviewed quite a few agents and I think there were several in the top they probably would have hired above me. And they could not believe the data that we had. And they were just blown away by it. She's like, I'm just blown away. I've never seen anything like this. I really do want to be an agent again. And I was like, well, it's really only our office. And she, I mean, the next day she called me. So I left all of it. I said, here's your, printed it off and said, these are for you. I highlighted the places that I felt like they needed to see on this. And I said, you go over it more tonight and then they called me.
yep. So if I had a buyer interested in your list, yeah, what price range is it in?
575.
575. So you're between 550 and 6. So in January, there were 4 listings that hit the market. 5, a new listing that hit the market, 5 total that were on the market. 4 of those went under contract for a pending ratio of 44% and 1 closed. The average price range was 570. What's your listing price at? 575. So I would say on average, like if I had a buyer interested, I could pull up this data if we're trying to put together an offer for your listing. And say, you know, in this price range, looks like she's priced right on the money for the price range between 550 and 6, the average is 570. Well, average price per square foot. There's 5 months of supply of inventory, but the story really doesn't say that. I mean, you've got 10 offers and however many days on the market. And look here, it's it doesn't even have, let's see, sold above list price, 0%. So the one that did sell got 100%, or sorry, the one did have one price reduced. It's reduced 100%. That doesn't make any sense.
No, that doesn't make any sense, especially in that specific price range in Prosper.
Because there's always for a closed sale, so.
Yeah, that's only one, it's only that one.
Only one.
So you could go back to December or wherever, and because you were probably looking at December ChartMasters. Yeah. Because the data just came
I
out
was like, this wasn't the one I used, but yeah.
So then you could look at, again, if this was calculated, you could look at the ones that were not price reduced in January that sold. On average, they're getting whatever percentage of the list price. You could have a conversation with a buyer that maybe want to lowball, an offer and say, we can't, we're not even gonna be competitive. So that's how I would use it.
I like that.
Yep. So
I was able to show them the next price range because we could have listed it between 570 and 600. And in the one I was using in December, the 600, 700, it was a big difference in the data for what it stayed on market, et cetera. And that would have been really pushing comps, everything. And it's cool to show them the next bracket. Okay, well, if we list at 600, this is what we're potentially looking at.
Yep. You can compare it right there. You don't have to toggle between 4 different reports or anything. And it's just literally broken down.
Must have been a lot more money.
We have just a little bit more time, but I wanted to brainstorm, how do you guys see that you'd be using this information or data? Just want to get some ideas going. Yes. Carter.
I don't bring this with me to my sellers. I bring this with me when I'm talking to buyers too, because it and specifically the buyer consultation. I don't have to bring this up constantly with my buyers, but it's really helped get my buyer's perspective a little more on target and expectations be set up front going forward. So I would say bring this with the buyers because it's great information.
It's happened a lot lately, even with buyer consultations that we've gone in, like we had one last week where the guy's like, I'm just gonna wait a couple months because the market sucks. That was his words. I was like, and what's your definition of? What does that mean to you? It's like, oh, well, I hear it on the news. Like, okay, well, I've got buyers that since January 1, every weekend I've lost in multiple offer situations in your price point. Here's the data that shows it. See all that green? That means it's in a for seller's market. It's moving quick.
Yeah.
If you talk to lenders, what were they saying in the summer? They said we'd be in the 8 to 9% right now. They've stabilized. And in addition, like we were talking about this in one of our team meetings, like we've got a whole new round of buyers that are coming in this year that don't have scar tissue. They haven't been qualified for 3% now, and then got into like the 6 and 7s, or lost out on multiple offers. They're coming in with a fresh point of view. You need this to show how, what your value add is. To say like, I can get you under contract if you're motivated, or depending on what your motivation level is. But here's what we gotta do. And it's that way with sellers too.
Yeah, and a lot of people are moving from in Texas from out of state. A lot of, so they don't know. It is here.
Yes.
The realtors that are using this properly. And when they, as I said earlier, that anything you own, you think is worth more money than it really is. So I'm wondering what, on a percentage, what's the pushback? You might have just answered it. It says, you know, they want to sell it for that house for 700,000 and they really need to be between 5 and 6. So do you get pushback and say, listen, you're not going to be my listing agent. I think that you're too low. Or you show them this data and say, if you really want to sell the house, here's what's moving in this area and here's where you need to be. I'm just wondering what percentage of saying, I'm not going to use you to, you know, you bring a good point here.
I've had the least amount of pushback since that. I closed on a Richardson house that I used ChartMasters for today, this morning, and we closed over list. And
Close over this.
closed over list.
I would say you gotta know your seller.
Yeah, know your
It's,
seller.
it's for why are they motivated? Just looking for top price, do they need to get it sold?
Right.
That's
If it's a logical thinker, it works. If it's an emotional seller that doesn't have to sell, it's looking for top dollar. These numbers don't work with that kind of person.
Okay.
that seller did have a much higher number in mind.
Yeah.
And when we went over the data very carefully, and she didn't agree originally, and I said, just take it, read it. It's good for you to, you know, ingest tonight, digest it without me here. And then she agreed to the list price.
Great.
Anybody else? Any other ideas? Anybody got to record a video and talk about some stats?
I think what I recommend is a lot of information there and try and sit down with the comments. So use it to tell the story that you're trying to tell. And then what I do is I like highlight just the things that I want to talk about. But if you try and say, well, this means this, this means this, and I post for this. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think that goes out for the masses too. Like if you just say, hey, everybody, here's the charts for this month, they're gonna be like, I don't know what to do with this. You know, but if you can pull out 1 or 2 pieces and tell a story with it, I think that's very powerful. Yes.
So just question, some other thing that's gonna be coming up from Princeton, if I look on the print, on the like 350 to 4 and go over to the median price per square foot roughly, and then like multiply that times the number of square foot in my area there, get a rough kind of range.
You were just in my CMA class and
I
we
know.
just went over how to do this. This is also a check and balance, see, you know, roughly what's happening in there, but I would not use that to price a house.
I understand.
Okay,
But it's a good check, a balance.
yes, yeah. It's just a data point. Every house is gonna, like, that's like saying, can't even think of a good
It shows you
analogy.
the activity and the results in that price range.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're thinking of listing at 350, it will show you how many buyers close, I mean, how many transactions happened, I mean, the listings came on, and it's just something else for you to look smart when you're talking to your seller.
I believe that this number, the median price per square foot, is the sold price per square foot. So that would be a good check and balance to see if your price per square foot is higher than that number. If a buyer is really in the weeds about what the price per square foot is your number higher than what the median or average is for that bracket? Then that would be a good check and balance, but I would not just,
I mean, you know, for a quick general median.
yeah, like what you're saying is like, are all Ferraris red? No, like, you know, all, you know what I mean? Like all cars are gonna be very different and yes, it's generalization. You wanna make sure that you are very precise and detail on the CMA first and then use this as a balance. Yes.
So since you started using this, where is this compared to your CMA? So you seen it pretty close?
I'm not really using the price per square foot. Like as a check and balance like that. I mean, I'm using the overall data. I'm not really into the weeds on it like that. For my personal listings.
It's just an overall and then funding in on the scene.
Yeah, so like in my listing presentations, where we start is when we talk about the numbers, we start with the overall, what's happening in the greater Dallas-Fort Worth market. Then what's happening in their city or school zone, and then what's happening in their neighborhood. Like I go big and then we narrow down. So this is what I would use to go in the general area.
So here's where I'm using it is if I think the CMA shows 500,000 and I sit down with the seller and he says, I think my house will sell for 550. And you pull this data out, make your point. And then if they still want to go at 550, it's their point.
Okay, does everybody raise your right hand? I promise to open this at least twice before the end of the week and learn something. Good job. Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you guys for being here. I'll stay and answer any questions. Please mark your calendars. February 16th, after the ALT meeting, 1 o'clock. You do not want to miss that. Jeremy's so knowledgeable. And he's gonna go over the quarterly reports. February 16th. Yes, so 1 o'clock.
You know, when Angie sends out the email with this report being out, there's usually a summary that Jeremy sends with it.
Yes,
That's also very helpful.
yes, it is.
Snapshot of what you're gonna find.
Yes, and that comes out via email from Angie. It's like a little notification that the reports are up. Yes, great. Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I know.
I was fixing it while we were here.
Yeah, thank you. It's fine. Thanks for messing with the registry.
Of course, it's going off the door.
It's different than all.
That's the question. You were looking for. Developing, I said.